Hey, how's it going, man?
Yo, Jace Kessler, welcome to the Moto Aftermath Show, bud. How are you tonight?
Not too bad. Thanks for having me on.
No problem, bud. We appreciate you coming on here. Great start to the season here, man. You've been doing pretty well here. So, I mean, Fox Raceway 21st, Hangtown 18th, Thunder Valley. We just won't talk about that. And obviously, yesterday there was some things. But man, just like walk us through yesterday there at High Point, like how that was for you.
Yeah, yesterday was tough. It was tough for sure, man. The track was brutal. It was muddy and it was treacherous for sure. Them ruts were crazy, and the track was weird too because it was like super sloppy on top, and then the bases was just super hard. So it made it difficult to ride too for sure. And I've kind of always struggled in that a little bit more. So it was tough, and honestly, it would have been a pretty decent day. I qualified pretty well actually. I think I was P20 overall going into the motos, which was good for me because I'm not typically a qualifier. Usually I don't qualify the best. It's hard for me to run those one laps. So started off pretty good, and then first moto had a couple of issues really. First moto I went down, guy fell right in front of me and was trying to avoid him, and I ended up washing my front end out, and this was going up the face of one of the jumps coming out of the corners, and my bike ended up sliding down the hill and got caught up in the banners and stuff. So first moto, I was like dead last and like on like the 5th or 6th lap. And I think the next dude in front of me was like 20 or 30 seconds up. So it was really hard to make, much of a comeback on that. And, it was just a struggle. It seemed like all day. It was hard to find a flow. I wasn't riding, the greatest, but, it's, it's, you live and learn. It's, what happens, you're going to have those rounds that aren't the best, but, just a couple of issues in there really.
I will not lie to you. That track looked like ass yesterday. So,
honestly, it wasn't even fun to ride. It was just so gnarly, man. It was brutal. And I feel like they could have did definitely a hell of a lot better on the track prep because I mean, after qualifying, I feel like if they would have went through there and re-tilled up the track, I think it would have been pretty damn good. But I get it. They got to keep it gnarly and for us, but I feel like the dirt itself would have been honestly pretty good if they would have went through and redid everything.
Yeah. Now your deal here for this year, you're basically doing this all yourself out of a pickup truck, essentially, aren't you? It's just you and a buddy just kind of driving around doing these rounds.
Yeah, that's the thing. We took my for the first 3 at least. We were out of my pickup. Just me and my buddy. He's not even a real mechanic, but he's pretty much my best friend and he's helping me out for these rounds and, on the full tour with me. So yeah, we took the pickup out west and now back east, we have my box van back for those. So that's a little bit better, but yeah, pretty much just running my own program and, making it happen.
Are you getting flashbacks? What was it?
2021
vibes here when you were doing it yourself out of the box van?
For sure. Oh yeah, for sure. Especially, the first 2 rounds were honestly amazing to start off. Those were really good. And then these last 2, I've just been a little tough. Colorado wasn't even, necessarily me. I just had, multiple bike problems. First moto, my brake got wrapped around my foot peg, and second moto, my bike blew up. So just, a couple problems there. And then, High Point wasn't the best yesterday, but Paula and Hangtown were great to start off, so I was getting more of those vibes and, just need to keep that up, especially Hangtown was amazing being up in that top 10 again, running for, quite a while. And honestly, I think I could have kept it there for a top 10 finish that first moto. I ended up going down at, I think right at halfway and yeah, kind of took the steam out of it. But, we've had some good and some bad, it's got to, get a little bit more consistent and kind of lessen these little problems we're having. But honestly, it's been a solid start to the season.
But I feel like now we're coming into tracks, though, that you're way more comfortable, way more familiar with here, getting back towards this East Coast dirt here.
Lucky for you, you got 2 weeks off, and then you go down a track that you could ride with your eyes closed. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, for sure. I'm looking forward to it, man. And that's the thing, them West Coast tracks are tough, and even,
you can say it, they're shit.
More... yeah, no, they are shit. they're bad. Man, they're just, it's a totally different type of ride, and, they develop so much different than over here. And, I'm being from Michigan, I'm so used to riding sand and, loamy tracks that are good. And, and all that type of stuff. So it's, going over there where it's hard and, really holy and, those kickers and edges. It's tough. It's tough for sure. But, I was actually proud I adapted to it the way I did, and for never really riding those tracks out there. So it wasn't too bad.
I was going to say, so do you think for the next 3 rounds, Redbud, the Wick, and then going to Millville, having that softer deep base, do you think you're going to put it in the top 10?
Yeah, that's my goal. That's honestly, been my goal every weekend. I've been, my speed is there. I've been a guy that's for sure within the top 15 speed, and Hangtown definitely was, I could have snagged the top 10 right there for sure. So, that's my goal. I know I can do it. It's all about putting yourself in the right spot too. These starts are so crucial, and obviously I'm not quite fast enough to be able to come from way back up into there. So it's when I start up front and I can be right in that mix, it makes it a lot easier to be able to run that pace and be up there. So, it's just gotta put yourself in a good spot. Click off those starts, and I'm really looking forward to these tracks coming up. Redbud obviously is hometown race, and is always usually pretty good. So I'm really looking forward to that. And then Southwood for sure. I'm a sand guy, so I love that sand there.
Now, are you doing like you did in 21? Are you basically practicing out like Martin and that kind of stuff up here, or do you have somewhere else that you're practicing this summer?
No, pretty much. Be practicing at Martin and kind of anywhere that's running around home. I have a few private tracks I ride as well, so kind of just doing that. Honestly, I haven't even rode in Michigan yet this year. I before the season, there was only 2 weeks after I didn't do the very last round of Supercross. So there was only 2 weeks to get ready, for outdoors. So I just stayed in Florida, down there at Dreamland with Renslin. So I did 2 weeks there just to really get right in some heat, and then went home 3 days later, left for out west, and been out there the last few weeks. And then, got back from out west, Colorado last Monday evening, and then left Thursday to High Point. So it's been go. It's definitely been a busy 4 weeks, so I really haven't had the chance to ride even back home. But, now that we're back here and, stuff should be getting a little less chaotic, I'm looking forward to riding around here and hitting some of the tracks here for sure.
Okay. Yeah. So one thing I want to ask you about here, I know we've talked about it kind of off the record when we've seen each other at the races or whatever. I want to talk about your wrist injury because I don't feel like a lot of people really know the whole kind of in-depth thing, because the wrist surgery you had was like proprietary. Like they'd never really done anything like that before, correct?
Yeah, no, for sure. It's been a tough deal. It definitely was a no joke injury, and a lot of people really don't know the extent of it. They might just hear, oh yeah, broken wrist or whatever. But it was, the extent of it was pretty bad, and I had previous complications with it from I broke it 2 other times before this last time here, and I had a deformity actually. It's like the bone on the outside of your wrist, it was almost like crooked, so that bone protruded out really far, and gave me a lot of motion problems and a lot of issues kind of ever since then. And I've tried to get it fixed, and I've seen many doctors, lots of times, and they all said it was something possible and this and that. And after that Supercross last year when I rebroke it, I went up there to Vail to Dr. Viola, and their team was amazing in helping me out getting that fixed. And he did a surgery that he's a world-class doctor, works with Olympic athletes and all these things, has super high credentials, and he had never even seen something like that, and didn't even, we kind of had to make up a plan for what had happened. And throughout last year I had 3 surgeries on it, and they were pretty gnarly ones. I had to have my arm lengthened and bone graft put in my wrist. I have 1.5 inches of bone graft in there, and so it was a tough process. And I'm finally, even I raced last year, but I still wasn't, even when I did get back on the bike, I wasn't even nowhere near in any place to be riding. Honestly, I should have just probably took the year off, to be honest. But that the racer inside you, and you want to be out there. So I was trying to make it happen with what I had. But it was a gnarly injury for sure.
Yeah. So now you rode down at you've been training down at Dreamland then for Supercross. Is that's where you were riding at?
Yeah, I did my Supercross prep down there, and I stayed down there just a majority of Supercross, just because a lot of the rounds were closer, obviously, to down there. And then after Supercross got done, I just hit it was only 2 weeks, so I just stayed there and rode those 2 weeks down there.
That's cool. Yeah, I saw some of your Instagram stuff, and I was like, man, I can't figure out where he's at. But not a ton of people ride down there, so I always try to like figure out when I look at the tracks, because I can usually pinpoint like, oh, that's MTF, that's wherever. So but never could quite do that with you, so that's interesting to know. Who else rides down there other than Rensland, or was it just you and him?
Yeah, they keep it pretty low key. This year, Luke, cause his brother Cody, he trains like all year round and works with a small group of amateur riders that train there. Luke, on the other hand, he, for the first time, did a Supercross program this year, and we had a small group of us. It was me, Jeremy Hand, Quinn, he races in Canada, and yeah, it was just us out there, and we were pretty much grinding the Supercross, and he did a little program for the winter, so that was kind of how that deal came about, but they keep it pretty low-key for the most part.
That's cool, man. That place looks awesome. I've seen it in videos before, like the outdoor track part of it, and I'm just
Used to be real gnarly.
I was gonna say I'm just amazed by it. Like
when Luke raced full time, that track was really fucking gnarly back in the day.
So how?
Yeah, no, it's sick. It's sick.
How do we land on Hondas here? So like, because before it was you were on Yamahas back in 21. And then I know you went to the SGB team there, and you were on Hondas. So how did we end up staying on Hondas there? Did we got dealership locally here that we cut a deal with, or what do we got going on with that?
No, honestly, I don't get hardly no help from dealership with bikes and stuff. It was simply just really like a time thing. It was easier after the whole SCB thing. That didn't turn out very well. That team's it had its ups and downs for sure.
We'll talk about that now on the show, because I want to hear all the stories from that one.
And we've heard stuff.
I was gonna say I've heard rumblings, but I want to hear all the stories firsthand here. So
yeah. I just say it wasn't the best experience, but I had a couple Hondas from that. After that got over, so it was hard to get bikes at the time as well, so I kind of just stayed on them because I had two of them already, so it kind of worked out better for me just to stay on it financially with, instead of trying to get more bikes and this and that, so yeah.
Now, do you have anything done to them, or are they basically stock bikes with suspension and a pipe?
Yeah, for outdoors, it's pretty much just a stock bike. We have an ECU and exhaust on it. That's it.
Oh, okay.
So the Kessler Special.
Kessler Special.
Oh yeah, Kessler Special all the way.
That's awesome. Is OnlyFans still on board with you for outdoors too, or were they a Supercross only deal?
No, it's I signed a full year thing with them, so yeah, it's outdoors as well.
Cool, sweet. Now, do you have an OnlyFans page?
Helped out. No, it's honestly helped out my program a ton having them on board with me, and obviously as a privateer, you're the funding and finding the money to do this stuff is tough for sure. So having someone that's able to fund that and help out my year where I can not have to worry about my travel stuff and the gas and the hotels, all that goes into it, you know what I mean? So I can do this whole series is nice for sure.
Yeah, well, we got a local race coming up, and we're looking for people to help out here. So you got to text me back, buddy.
Might have to jump on board on that.
Hey, we run a very low key operation over here. We require very little on our end here for giving out money here for privateer people. So, you got anything else for him?
No, man, just good to see that he can make it to the whole series and stuff, so that's always the biggest part when you're in a privateer situation, so it's cool that he's getting the chance to do the whole series.
Yeah. I got one more thing. How did you feel about Supercross this year? Because I know it was a bit of a struggle there. It looks like Nashville was the only one that you made the main in. Like, how did you feel about your Supercross season?
Yeah, it was okay. It wasn't obviously. I would have liked to have been in more mains, but I got to just take what I could get. It was technically my rookie Supercross season, because in 22 I didn't even get that learning year, so I'd never experienced that going through the day, and how it all works and riding those tracks and everything that comes along with it. So, it's tough. It was just, mainly it had to be that learning year. And, I wish it could have been last year and this year, coming in, better and contending more. But, I was glad to make that main in Nashville. And honestly, I could have made a lot more mains. It wasn't a lack of, speed and things like that. It was, I was buried off the starts, and you're trying to come through the pack. It's hard to make stuff happen. So, there was a handful of them that I definitely could have made for sure. But, definitely was a learning year and, take that into next year for sure. And hopefully, make some more mains and be able to compete more for sure.
I do have a question for Jace before he goes. So it's about Supercross since we're talking about it. Was the plan always to ride outdoors, or did you at all, any part of you, like try to make some connections for World Supercross? Or was the plan just always do outdoors?
No.
Like that's not even in your mind?
Yeah, no, for me, like it was always to do outdoors. I love outdoors.
Yeah.
I don't, I've always been an outdoors guy. I kind of prefer that more, I'd say, or at least right now, maybe when I get, better at Supercross, but right now, I've always been an outdoor guy. I enjoy the outdoors. I love the long motos and the tracks and that stuff. So the goal was, always outdoors, but I didn't have an opportunity that, that came up for anything else. So as well. So, you never know, like, if something came up, would have been, something to think about and, consider doing. But, for me, it was always outdoors.
I'm honestly kind of surprised that nobody, any of the Canadian teams didn't reach out to you. And I only say that just because you've already proven yourself in 2021. Like everybody knows your name. And, with a chance that Christopher Blackmer, another Michigan kid, got last year, I'm just a little shocked that and maybe they did and we just don't know about it. But like I was kind of thinking, I was like, yeah, maybe Jace will get a shot at a factory team up in Canada just because obviously their programs are way different than the way we run things down here. So.
Yeah, and that's another thing, honestly, for me personally, like I want to stay here. I want to be here racing. This is the top of the sport, the pinnacle of everything. And, even with talking with Luke, he did that up in Canada and, he said it was great and all, but he said he was forgotten about here. He said he could have had a chance to come back here and race, but he was kind of forgotten about at that point. And, I don't ever, obviously I'm not in that position exactly, like he was, but, I don't ever want that to happen if I were to, you know what I mean? Because I always, that's always been the dream, as you're a little kid to race, pro motocross and supercross and all that here in the States. So
definitely can respect that.
All right, well, cool, man. Well, we appreciate you giving us some time tonight, and good job so far this outdoor season. I'm sure we've got way more to come, and like I said, hit me up here. I'll text you here this week. Let's work on something for Redbud, man.
Yeah, cool. I appreciate you guys having me on. Always good talking with you guys. So, I'm sure see you at Redbud there.
Yeah. Oh yeah. We'll see you at Redbud. Don't you worry. So, all right, man. We'll talk to you later, buddy. Thank you.
See you.
All right, later, guys.
Yeah, bye. All right,